Wednesday was a big day for you guys.
Wednesday was a big day for us, obviously in many ways. Most importantly, playing well on the road against a pretty good team, a team that we think will go on to have a successful season. And we hope that win is one that we look back on in March and feel like it helped us.
You touched a little bit on Twitter about Cade and Rondell, but how big is this class for you as a coach and program?
It's huge. I think sometimes, and it's no one's fault, it's just not being inside the workings of the process. When you first take over a program, it takes a little while to figure out what you're trying to do long term. And this was a class that we identified pretty early on that was going to be pretty significant for us. You kind of got an idea of establishing who you are, what your needs are, what you want to do in terms of style of play. And so for basically 3 years now, we targeted this class as being one that we wanted to have a major impact, but also try to sign an elite level player, and obviously we feel like we accomplished that.
So the grand plan, you had
Yeah, there was a plan. Obviously, as far as Cade, I had already been recruiting him by the time I took over, and it was pretty relentless in my pursuit. And here we are today.
How many trips did you take to go see Cade? Can you estimate?
As many as you're able to take.
Yeah.
I didn't miss any opportunities to go see him, that's for sure. In fact, I was talking on the radio. So I saw him for the first time in September, the year I was an assistant in 2016. We play in Maui that year, and I took the red eye back from Maui and went straight to his high school to watch him play right off the plane. And I was there with about 12 other people, all of which were parents of one or the other team, because it was like a 1 o'clock game, Thanksgiving weekend, so it wasn't like a whole lot of people. There was a big event going on about 3 miles away where all the other coaches were, and so I was happy to be the only one in the building watching him that day.
What'd you see him so early? Because he wasn't necessarily this elite prospect at that point.
I think he was.
Right.
I really do. You do this long enough, just like anything, you just see something different sometimes that you're not accustomed to seeing, especially with young kids. Their poise, the way he was able to articulate the things he was trying to accomplish, his maturity level, his unselfishness. I really thought he was a senior, to be perfectly honest. When I first saw him, I went to his coach and asked him, hey, what's going on with that kid? Is he going to sign late this year or something like that? Maybe thinking that if he was about 6'5" at the time. And if he was a senior, I was probably going to try to help him go to maybe a Southland level school or something like that. And when his coach told me that he was a freshman, I immediately knew that I needed to go kind of outside the box and do something I did not do very often as an assistant, which was offer him a scholarship immediately.
You talked about You talked about going to visit him, but what was it like when he visited here for the first time?
It was great. I mean, he didn't visit here until this September. It was the first time he'd actually been on campus. We talked about it multiple times. The plan was last year to make a visit, and then when he's changed schools to go down to Montverde, made it much more difficult to get him here during the season. So the opportunity presented itself this fall. We were pretty entrenched in the recruitment at that time, and I think for him it was kind of validation. Our relationship was strong. The things that I told him about our program, he came, it wasn't like it was a huge game. We played McNeese, no disrespect to them from a football standpoint, but it wasn't homecoming hoops, it wasn't Bedlam, it wasn't anything like that, but he felt that it was important. He felt that our basketball program was a big deal. He came in here, saw the banners, and felt like he wanted to try to have an impact on making one happen himself.
This class isn't finished yet, but you go back 3 years, could you have envisioned signing 2 top 25 classes in your first 3 years, including one of the best players in the country?
Yeah, and not arrogantly at all. I just believe that work wins. And I believe that our staff has put in the work that it takes to convince guys, or to help them understand, I should say. Because we don't try to convince them, we want them to believe it for themselves, that this is a place that you can achieve anything, that you can go on and be a draft pick. You can win a national championship and make deep runs in a tournament. You can play on the highest level against the best competition year in and year out. You're going to play a great schedule every year, which we've proven that we'll try to put together. So, yeah, I mean, not in an arrogant way. I just believe in what we do because I believe in the work we put in.
You mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
Cade's process
kind of had a lot of turns kind of towards the end, at least from the outside. Was that a stressful time for you?
Not at all. None of it is stressful for me. I really don't have time to stress about it. I'm constantly trying to figure out what else to do to help the situation. We talked literally every day, and that's the same thing with the Boones. You know, even with some kids we haven't gotten. I remember vividly getting in the car after some games and driving 7 hours to St. Louis and driving back here 2 years ago. And that one didn't work out, but it's never stressful because I believe we're doing it the right way, and we'll get the kids who want to be here, that want to help us do what we think we can do here.
Cade mentioned it a little bit in his video when he committed, but his brother, how big of an influence was his brother on getting him here?
It was huge. I mean, I'm not going to discount that as a non-factor. You know, my job in terms of our staff is to hire the people who we think can help us do the things that we want to do. And one of our assistant coaches' primary jobs is to recruit. Right? And so there's this notion that you shouldn't hire someone like that. And I say, well, every assistant coach is hired to get players. I mean, so I don't understand why then it would be a problem when there's more of a chance that you could actually get a really good player. But if we don't have the relationship established for 3 years, I'm not sure it matters. Because if we don't recruit him for 2 years before the other schools are involved, then it's hard to get over the hump. So, you know, I'm not going to say that his brother's hiring didn't help. I like to think that our relationship was a factor as well, and that he believes he can come here and accomplish all of his goals regardless.
I haven't mentioned Rondell all that much, but you've mentioned in the past how much you like getting in-state kids, and this is a pretty good one.
Absolutely. We want the best players in state every year to know that Oklahoma State is the place to go, that their families can come watch them play, that they're going to be able to play against the highest level of competition in college basketball, and that this is a program that they should be able to take pride in. So, having a kid like Rondell Walker, who's not only a great player and going to continue to get better, I think his best years are probably 2 years down the road, just physically needing to mature a little bit. But he's a great student, almost a 4.0. Great kid, and obviously he's a pretty good recruiter because as much as Canada was involved, Rondell Walker was a big piece of this deal too.
You've landed top two players in state in the past 2 classes. Has that kind of opened some doors for you being a younger coach in some of these programs across the state?
Yeah, I mean, I never recruited the state of Oklahoma before, so to get in and be able to establish the type of relationships you need to give people confidence that you'll be able to deliver on some of the things that you expect to be done, but also that your program can have success in the ways that these kids want to have. Again, it's a testament to our staff. They've done a great job of continuing to knock on doors. Sometimes don't open immediately, but if you knock on them long enough, even if they're just annoyed, they'll at least listen to you. So I think our persistence and our consistency, and I think being honest with people, because again, in recruiting, it doesn't matter in my mind if you're Cade Cunningham or Keelan Boone or Jonathan Laurent. We don't promise you anything. We establish exactly what it's going to be like. I love about Cade and Rondell is they want to be coached. Those are the type of kids that we want to have here, because when it gets here and it becomes challenging at some point, which it does for all of them, no matter how good they are, their heart's in the right place and they're going to work through it.
Asked Thomas, and he said it's a little too early for the players to know anything, but what have you guys seen the coaching staff of Yale?
I've seen that they got a really good team. They're similar in a lot of ways to College of Charleston, in that they present different challenges. They don't have the depth that we like to believe we have. They're better inside than they are on the perimeter, but they're more than capable of challenging us in ways that that we'll need to be locked in on the game plan. We'll need to rebound the ball well, and we'll need to make sure we take care of the basketball as well.
How big was it for you to get these signees on this particular year, knowing you're going to have to replace 3 special seniors after this year?
Every class is important. I don't put any more significance on next year's class. On paper, we don't have a junior, right? So technically, we don't have a scholarship to give in 2021. I'm pretty certain that we're going to have one, right? There's one of the kids coming in that's very likely not to be here the following year. But we're going to recruit as aggressively as we can every single year. Try to bring the best talent. that we can, that fits what we do and want to help us win at the level we want to win at.
You mentioned how coming in, it's kind of hard to know exactly what your long-term vision will be. At what point would you say you kind of started developing that, and how does that process go?
Well, I didn't say that. I said it takes some time for it to happen, right? I was very clear on what the vision that I thought our staff could accomplish, and I think that's maybe part of the reason that the administration believed, because there was a plan, and I was able to put that on paper for them. From everything from hiring the staff to the way we recruit to the way we were scheduled, it was clear, it was well thought out, I think, and it's the reason that I believe they had confidence that, well, even if he's no good, at least he's going to try to do something that looks organized here, right? And let's give him a shot. So I think the vision was clear. The process of it happening takes time, right? You got to get kids and their parents and their coaches on board with a guy who's never coached a game before. But now we're starting to see a little bit of success. We're far from where we want to be, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction.
You mentioned Rondell doing the recruiting of Cade a little bit. He mentioned too he liked that you let him and other guys kind of recruit each other. What's your philosophy on that?
It's huge. I mean, the best recruiters you're going to have are guys who already play for you. And the one thing I say all the time is you can't fool kids, right? They know real from not real. They can tell when someone asks how they're doing, if they actually mean that or if they're just trying to get to something else. So we try to really establish that we're going to care about you, we're going to coach you and push you, we're not going to make you any promises. And we feel like the best players, the guys that can help us win at the level we want to win, that's the message they want to hear. They don't want to be promised that they're going to start or they're going to be promised that they're going to play a certain number of minutes or anything like that, but they'll have an opportunity. And so having other guys buy into that, you know, I'm on Twitter, I'm not on Snapchat or Instagram or any of the other stuff, so I miss out a lot on some of the interaction with the kids, which I'm cool with. I don't know if I want to go all the way into the super social media, craze, but having kids who are bought in so well that they want to recruit other good players now, because we're talking about kids that they're going to compete with also. And so having kids buy in that they want to be a part of something, even if it means that they've got to sacrifice some on the front end, it's pretty special.
Obviously can't say too much right now, but do you anticipate any other letters coming in within this period?
I don't think that we're finished yet. I'll say that. And I feel I can say that with pretty strong confidence.
You kind of mentioned earlier, but how good of a recruiter can just Cade in general be, the number 2 player in the country? How good can that be for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it as a staff today, and we're still going to, at our foundation, recruit inside out. The state will always be most important, then Texas, Dallas specifically because of proximity, up in Kansas some, Arkansas a little bit. That'll be our, the core of our recruiting year in and year out. But he's going to give us an opportunity to open national eyes. There'll be a national audience tuning in to see how he does, what this looks like for him. And his experience is going to be important for us continuing to recruit that level of player because we haven't had a ton of them. It's been a guy here or there, Juwan and Marcus, but over the course of our history, it's not like every year we're churning out 5-star guys. So being able to have him come here and say, hey, I believe in what they're doing. I believe we can win at the highest level. And then going out and saying that to other kids, it's going to be really, really important as we continue to build it.
This early period is still relatively new, but how much, it's been closed yet, but how much do things like shift whenever it does close? Do you still go after the guys that you've been going after? Are there new people that you all of a sudden start to go after them?
I don't know if that's exactly, it changes from year to year. It depends on what your needs are. So we have some needs we still have to address. And as the signing period closes, we'll evaluate where we are at that point. If we've gotten those needs taken care of, we may shift to a different mentality, maybe more aggressive looking at 21, or we'll try to figure out, all right, what do we need to help us get to the next level for next season.
You guys have an update on Hitty moving forward?
So obviously he didn't play the other day. The word was he was doing better yesterday. We were off in practice, but he still does rehab. And I think he's going to be able to do some stuff in practice. I don't know how much. And if he can play some Sunday, he will, but he'll have to practice before he can play.
You've gotten early foul trouble. How good is it just to have a body like Caleb there, much less him play as well as he did?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was asked a question a few times in the preseason about those guys redshirting, and maybe people thought I was just trying to build up their confidence. Those kids are ready to play. They still have a ways to go, both him and Keelan and Avery and Chris and all of them. But they're ready for this moment. They've prepared well, and so having that depth, or at least some options available when York gets in foul trouble, or the first couple of games when Diz doesn't shoot it well, you got Chris Harris there or Keelan there. Just builds. That's what really good teams do, and I feel like we took care of business the other day.